Good morning, everybody. It's good to have you this morning, this Wednesday morning. Last week we talked comic books with a friend of mine. Today we talked to a comic in the form of DD Ingram from the DD Ingram Show. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm a little frustrated, but I think I'm okay now, man. I'm technologically illiterate, so it took me a minute to figure out how. Thanks to you, I was able to sign on. But other than that, I'm doing pretty good.
Well, I'm glad you were able to make it. I'm glad uh, we're able to do this because what happened here? Oh, I see what happened. Yeah. You're not the only one who's got technical issues happening happening this morning. Let me do this real quick. There we go. That's a little bit better. This morning, I happen to have my Super Dad cup with me.
Give me
I
one of
have my
those, man.
coffee. I've got millions of cups. Every Father's Day, Mother's Day, birthday, grandparents' day. I'm not even a grandparent. I get a coffee cup from one of the kids. So,
Not a bad deal.
not a bad deal at all. So,
All I get from my kids is a request for money, man. So it's any day, Father's Day, Christmas, Mother's Day, it's all the same, man. Daddy, give me some money.
oh, yeah, yeah. So, how's it been? How's it going, man? It's been a while.
It has been a while, man. Matter of fact, longer than a while. It's been years, man, since you and I have seen or talked to each other, man. I think the last time we saw each other was when I was working on your project, Sherlock Hernandez, many
Oh,
moons
yeah,
ago.
that was a lifetime ago. I think, being as old as we are, last century.
Right.
Yeah,
In the beginning, after God say, "Let there be light," we did Sherlock Hernandez, man, because we needed the light to do in order to do the film.
yeah. So I know you've got you have your show, the DD Ingram Show on the Fishbowl Network. Tell everybody a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's a show that I started probably about 12 or 13 years ago. It's basically a show that I like to describe as living room conversation that we invite people to listen to. And it's not unlike what we're doing right now. It's
Yeah,
not a set format or anything. I just have people come in the studio and we just talk about whatever.
that sounds great. I've listened to it several times in the past 12 years, probably a few.
Right.
I just yeah, I get a little busy sometimes, and I don't find myself an opportunity. But when I do, I try to stop in and say hi or drop a comment here and there. While the conversations are going on the Facebook, which anybody watching live now on Instagram or Facebook, you can drop a comment, and we'll be happy to respond to it if we recognize that it comes through over here in the comments section. And that's what you do, isn't it? I mean, you pick a topic or something comes up in the news, and then you and the gang have a little round table and take cues from the audience as they're listening in, and just expand on the conversation, huh?
That's pretty much how it goes. And sometimes it could be something that a topical subject is something that we've seen in the news, and then sometimes we'll just come in and just, hey, what's life like for you right now? What's going on? And just like you said, people type in comments, and we try to acknowledge anybody that types anything in the comments. The show hadn't got so large to where we can't go out here and comment on everything. So if we see somebody such as yourself pop in the comments, then we'll stop whatever we're talking about, and then we'll say hello, thank you for joining the DD Ingram Show, and then of course, you can have your input, and then sometimes what the people type in the comment section may change the direction of the conversation, or it may enhance, or we very rarely have people say negative things. Matter of fact, I only think it's happened a couple of times in the 13 years.
Mm-hmm. So, how do you handle those negative conversations?
Well, I as diplomatically as I possibly can. My show is I like to say it's family friendly. We can talk about anything, but you have to do it in such a way that I like to say that my kids could listen, well, my grandkids now could listen to the show. And if it's something that they can't listen to, we'll give you a heads up and say, okay, well, this subject it's not for the kids. But even if it's a subject that's not for the kids, we still try to do it in a as clean or clear, as concise a manner as we possibly can. You know,
Hmm.
I don't like vulgar language, and so I try to stay away
Yeah.
from it.
Yeah, I've been on a couple of podcasts as a guest, and the language can get pretty salty on occasion for some of these guys, and some of them thrive on the conflict that happens when you take a hot topic, if you will, and turn it on its head, and they will take what I consider a divisive stance just to get a conversation rolling, you know. So there's different flavors out there, and I've always enjoyed the DD Ingram show while listening in. And again, it's on the Fishbowl Radio
Fishbowl Radio
Network.
Network, yes.
Hmm. So tell me about the crew you got.
I saw there's a picture of four of us that you have up here on the screen. The young lady in the I guess the form of red T-shirt. I don't know what they call it. She's no longer with it. The show consists of me, my wife, and a young man that's on the far right is my nephew. And so he's in every other week because he's he's a coach dad, so he's coaching his sons and everything, soccer, football, basketball. And so when those seasons roll around, he'll try to come in as often as he can. But when they're not doing anything sports related, then he's there every week. And the most consistent thing about the DD Ingram show is DD Ingram. I've had a number of crew changes over the years, but from day one to now, I'm the one that's in the studio consistent. And in 13 years, I probably haven't missed 10 shows. So I'm pretty
So and you're still doing comedy.
I recently, well, not recently retired. I retired 4 years ago, and so I wasn't able to do it while I was working as much as I like to.
Uh
But
huh.
post retirement, I've started doing it again, and found out it's not the same as I left it, and so I'm finding myself. I'm still enjoying myself because there's a comedy club in Dallas called the Backdoor Comedy Club, where at
Hmm.
least I get a chance to get on stage and do 5 to 10 minutes every weekend until other gigs come up. And so, but I'm not working clubs anymore. It's a lot more difficult to get into clubs these days as it was when I first started.
So is it because the audience taste has changed in the terms of humor?
No, I haven't found that the. I mean, of course, you got a lot of young guys coming up that can identify with younger people, but my comedy, it's across the board. It's not for me particular that the humor has. I mean, that the audience don't get my humor. As a matter of fact, I'm probably one of the favorite comics at the Backdoor. I had a couple of gigs this past weekend, both of them down in the Waco Belton area where I did very well. So it's not an issue of whether my comedy has been left in the past. It's just the way that you get into comedy clubs is different now with the technology and having to have what I don't even know. They don't even do EPK, what electronic promo kits or whatever they call them anymore. So
Yeah.
it's a, a lot of the ways to get into clubs now is by referral. You know, or you can go out there and do the hustle game like we did back in the day, where you did all of the open mics every Monday through Sunday, and then you do enough of them enough times, then you get an open mic. I mean, an MC position in the club, and you can work your way up from there. But now
Hmm.
it's kind of referral. So I could, if you have like a feature or a headliner that says I would like this person to open or feature for me, then that's the best way to get in these days.
Wow. So yeah, that's you know what I hadn't really considered that the mechanics in the back end would change so much. I mean, I know that with films, you do use the electronic press kits a lot to send those out and get those out in front of the eyes that pay the bills on those things.
Right.
But I hadn't considered that the clubs would be doing the same thing to filter out. Well, not necessarily filter out, but to make a faster judgment on who to give the time to, because time is precious now.
Right.
on the stage, and even if it's just 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you want to be a little conservative and make sure you're getting the most out of that time period on stage.
Yeah. And like any business, the objective is to get what they say butts in the seats because, particularly in the comedy clubs, comedy is an added attraction, but the primary goal is to sell liquor. So
Yeah.
the comedy is a benefit, and so the people that can get the most seats and most butts in the seats, and a lot of people have turned to the internet to build audiences, and so that's a number of way. That's another way that they get in. The clubs look out there and say,
Hmm.
"Oh, this guy has a huge following." So because of his huge following, funny or not, most of them are funny, but that's not a prerequisite nowadays, man. So funny or not, this guy can bring people into the club, and all we trying to do is get them in the club, sell them some liquor, sell them some pop,
Yeah.
so we can make money, so we can turn around, and pay the comics, But that's the bottom line. I mean, how many people can this particular person bring to the comedy club so that we can make money?
Is it still a 2 drink minimum?
It's still a 2 drink minimum. So, yeah, and and that's basically how they make the money is by with the 2 drink minimum. Then that's in the B room. But if you excuse me, I have allergies. But if you're in the A room, they make their money that way as well as they have a pretty good food item menu. And so you
Hmm.
get steak, lobster, shrimp, anything that you can get in a real nice restaurant, in a club, say like the Improvs that we have here in the Dallas Fort Worth area.
Uh-huh.
So you, but the B rooms, you're gonna get some, wings, tater skins and stuff like that, man. Not bad if you're into that kind of stuff, but that's the difference between, the amount of money that they raise and the type of comics that they can bring into the room because the A rooms can bring the top comics in. The B rooms can get some of them, but they get funny comics, but they're not the A-listers.
Yeah. Yeah. So on your show, you have do you have guests on every now and then?
I do whenever I can find someone who's interested in coming in, and I've had a lot of interesting guests, man. I've had some people at the beginning of their careers who are now doing pretty good. Not necessarily because it's not about comedy, although I have
Yeah.
a number of comics that have come in, but I've had movie producers, authors, actors, the singers, business owners, and so it's if you want to come on and you want to talk about something that you're doing, then all you have to do is get in touch with me on my Facebook page, which is Demetrius Ingram. I need to shorten that because most people can't spell my name. It's and so, but I always tell them to go to the DD Ingram show page. Matter of fact, when I invite people to listen, I don't tell them to go to the Fishbowl Radio Studio, which it's fine because you're gonna get the audio, which is it's still entertaining if you're listening. But I always tell them to go to the DD Ingram show page, and then you can watch us live on Facebook. My wife is here. She's on the other side of the counter. I don't know if she'll come around here and let you see it, but
Now that's facebook.com/DD Ingram show.
DD Ingram. Here you go. Here's the lovely wife. I don't have an answer for that. Also, that's my co-host that's on the show, and so you get a chance to hear her every Tuesday as we do this show.
So do you have anybody coming up this later this week?
Possibly, it's an author, and I don't know his name. I could pull it up on my phone here, but it's somebody that my nephew. It's one of my nephew's best friend's father who's wrote a book about being positive about pursuing goals. It's called Up. And so it's a bunch of things like that. I wish I should have pulled it up, but it's a positive book. And he's a minister, and so he's trying to encourage people to pursue your God-given talents.
Oh, good, good. That sounds like it's going to be a really good show to have on, or a good guest to have on there.
Right, because in this world of negativity, we can use some positivity. That's for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. One of the guests I have coming up tomorrow is Tammy Anderson, who works in film and movie production here in the DFW area. She also does stuff at like places like the Gaylord Texan and
Uh-huh.
things like that. And she's very, very she's a really good stage mom.
Right.
And Friday we'll be talking with her daughter Ella Morrow. So I think it's really good to have positive stories, and we try to showcase people here with what they do and what they have going on, and try to make sure that there's a uh, something good to come out of every conversation, because I know a lot of people, and they're all very interesting,
Right.
and it's just sometimes it's good to just sit down and have a cup of coffee and talk with someone that you haven't talked to in a while.
Right. The book is called Up, The Power of Up, actually, and the author is Donald Finney. And so hopefully he'll get a chance to come in this weekend. My wife just put it up on the phone. She said that's a good help meet right there. And he said,
Oh yeah.
because I like I say, I'm not technologically savvy, nor is my wife. On some things, she's a lot better than I am, and so she's able to help me, assist me in a lot of ways. And so, because if it was up to me, I would still be trying to figure out how to get up on this right here.
Well, I picked the easiest system that I could think of to try to put this show together. So, because I used to be the tech savvy guy, and not necessarily the tech savvy guy anymore because technology has passed me up.
Well, but no, I wouldn't say that, because in light of what you do, man, you still have to kind of stay on top of your game, man, because you have to. That's no, it's not the power of showing up; it's the power of up.
Oh, well, let me remove that real quick.
So, but I mean, you're a filmmaker, and so you have to, not only make sure that the setting is proper, but once you do all your filming, you have to go back in and edit and do all that kind of stuff. So you still have some chops, man. Me on the other hand, I push a button, and a lot of times I have to have somebody come in and show me what button to push. Talking is not a problem; it's pushing the button to make sure everything is working. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to do now with my kids when it comes to technology, because it was always the kids who programmed the VCR or the DVD, or otherwise it would keep blinking 12. We don't
Right.
have those anymore, so how do I pass that on?
Yeah, and what it's a great way to punish the kids, man. If they do something wrong, then you tell them to go watch the VCR. And then of course they had a question: how do I download movies on this? Well, you should just have a room full of old technology, and when you want to punish the kids, put them in there. Yeah, so.
Yeah, they start joking around about going outside and touching grass. I said, "Well, you're out there, just pull some weeds."
Right, right. You dry it enough, maybe you can smoke it. For the kids don't kids don't play outside no more. Man. They play virtually outside because they got these little goggle things that they put on and play games and stuff. I couldn't do that. I can't stand up and play my video game on my what was it, Xbox, because if I stand up, because I do a game called Destiny, which I haven't played in a long time, but I try to play
Hmm.
standing up and fell down a number of times. And at this age, love you too, sweetie. At this age, man, falling, it can be an experience. It's not like when I was young. When you were
Oh
young,
yeah,
you fall, you get back up. When you're the age that I am now, you fall, your whole life flashed before your eyes, man. So,
that's a life changing event.
it definitely is. And if you don't have insurance, which I do have the government issued insurance, man, which it's not cheap, but it could be a bit of a challenge, man, if you
Oh yeah.
fall down.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I think it was back in the day. I was still trying to make movies, and I was working with a guy named Adrian, and he had me run up these flight of stairs it was his shoot, and I was just acting in it. And I ran up. They were concrete stairs out in a parking garage, and I went up once, and that was cool. But he wanted to
Right,
do it again, so I walked back downstairs, and I ran up again, and that was okay. And then he wanted to move the camera, go up to the top, and have me run up again.
right,
So the third time I ran up, I just felt this pop, 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 pop in my knees,
right,
right? But I kept going, and he got two or three more shots, and it got more and more painful as we went up. And after I, the pain just never went away. And I went to the doctor, and the doctor looked at it and he said, you've shattered the cartilage on the back of your kneecaps, and
Wow.
it looks like a spider web back underneath there. And he said, you've got three options, two for you. You got you've got the operation option. We can go in, scrape everything out,
Right.
uh, put a new coating in there, and put it back together. You can do therapy to try to mitigate the pain
Right.
and try to avoid the surgery as long as possible. He said as long as possible because it was going to
Right.
come.
It's
So,
inevitable. You're gonna have the surgery. Right.
and then he said the third thing you could do is the horse option. And I said, "What's the horse option?" And he said,
Go for option number one, please.
I went with therapy, you know.
Right.
So,
Did it work out?
and as a matter of fact, I haven't had the surgery yet. So, uh, you know, I guess it's working out okay.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
on
I
occasion,
can't run. I can't run to the bathroom, man. If it's an emergency, I'm just gonna have to change my depend because I'm not, I'm not gonna get there in time, man. So,
it happens to everybody, folks. It happens to everybody.
and it's
It's a
amazing because when I think about the things that I was able to do as a young man, I'm not frustrated because in the passing of time, things happen. You can't do what you used to do. But I used
yeah,
to play a lot of basketball, man, and I could dunk, man. When I was since I've been like 5'7", and I,
yeah,
I was like a kid that go in the gym. There's nobody would pick me, and then I'll be on the sidelines dunking. Then everybody wants me to play that. I guess they equivocate dunking with being a good player. It's not. It just means that you can jump high. But not to say
well,
that I wasn't a good player. I was actually a decent player.
that leaves me out. Who was that guy? Who was that guy that was under? He was under 5'5".
Spud well.
Spud, yeah. Oh man, that guy could fly.
Yeah, he could. When I was in high, I missed this particular game. I went to Dunbar High School in Fort Worth, Texas, which is known for having one of the best basketball programs in the city of Fort Worth. Or I did during the time when I was in high school. I went to every game. I happened to miss that one game that we played Wilma Hutchins with Spud Webb. At that time, he was 5'4", and
Okay, yeah.
he ran down the court and dunked on our team. Coach benched all of the starters. He put in the second team, man. It's like y'all sit y'all behind on this bench, man. How could y'all let this little guy go down the court and dunk on you like that?
But it's man, he was like a little miracle, you know.
He was. And then, when he went to the NBA, I didn't think he. I mean, 5'5", 5'6". I mean, you up there with giants, man, 6'4"
Mm-hmm.
to 7-footers. But he was able to hold his own. And one of
Oh
the
yeah,
things was to his advantage was, ironically enough, was his height because of his quickness. You couldn't really dribble on him because he could take the ball from you. So you had to play, and you couldn't really play above his head because his vertical was outrageous. So
yeah.
he turned out to be a phenomenal player, and probably the shortest player I can remember to playing was Muggsy Bogues, who was 5'3".
Mm-hmm.
Who had, I mean, you got to have some skills to make it into the NBA. You 5'3", man, so, but those are the exceptions, not the norm.
Yeah. Are you following football this season?
Actually, I probably more than I have in many years, because for over 15 years or so, I never watched football. And it's not that I didn't like it; I just stopped watching it for some reason. And then
Yeah.
I probably about 3 years ago, I said, "Well, let me start watching." It's always been entertaining. But I think one of the reasons I stopped watching is because I stayed away from it from a little while, and over the course of years, I'm not familiar with a number of the players, and so if you don't know nobody, it's kind of, you can't have a favorite team. Who you gonna pull for? But over the years,
Yeah.
I started back, like I say, in the last 3 years, I started watching it again, and I'm enjoying the game. I can actually, this past weekend, my wife and I watched everything that we could. We was just switching from one game to the next. Whereas when I first started watching, I would only watch Cowboy games. But
Hmm.
now I'm watching a lot of other games. But my favorite sport is college basketball. So when college basketball, I sit everything down and I'm gonna pick that over football, baseball, pro basketball. It's the college game. It's the game that I like. I'm most inclined to watch.
That's let's see, college. Is that where you got the March Madness, or is that
Yes, it's
professional?
more. Yes,
Oh, college. Okay,
yeah.
okay.
I set everything down for March Madness. Don't call me. Don't come by. Don't disturb me. I got my computer, several TVs, my cell phone. I got the March Madness app, the ESPN. I don't want to miss nothing, man. For that time period, it's just I shut it down. That's all I do.
I used to be into to basketball, and not the college stuff, the pro stuff, but that was last century. And just recently, my wife started getting into the fantasy football.
I've
You know
never
what?
played it. My nephew is huge into that, and I think my
Yeah.
son is as well.
I mean, she's not watching Thursday night football or anything, but Sunday night she'll go and go to the computer and sit over there and check to see how she did over the week. So
Right, right. Yeah, that's the
I'm
thing.
with her.
Everybody
She's
trying to get their players to get the most yardage, the most tackles, and then I mean, there's actually a playoff system for fantasy football as well. And so at the
yeah.
end, apparently, it can be very lucrative in some of the fantasy leagues, man. Depending on how far you go and how the players that you pick advance. I understand some aspects of it, but I've never played. Every year I keep saying that I'm going to, but I hadn't gotten around to it.
Yeah, I think it's good to keep track of stuff, and if your team's um, having a bad season, investing your time into a fantasy football league is probably a better way to enjoy the sport, because once your team disqualifies itself from the playoffs or anything else, you're not going to be able to really enjoy it unless you've got another angle with
Right.
which to do that. And then you add the gambling aspect to it, and it's a whole other thing. So
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons that I like college basketball is because I just really enjoy the game. And then when March Madness starts, I may pick a team, but if that team gets knocked out, it really don't matter. I just move to another team, and then I'll pick who I think is going to win the national championship game. Because as you're filling out your brackets, man, every year my bracket get busted in the first game. So, yeah, so it don't matter, man. It's just a matter of just really enjoying the sport and just watching and having fun. And speaking about football, on my show, I just happened to mention that I don't like political correctness, and we were talking about the Washington Commanders. Is that what they call now? I said I'll never call them the Washington. I'm just saying that for conversation right now. They're always
yeah,
gonna be the Washington Redskins to me, and
I
so
think they're called the wooden nickels.
it might as well be, man. But last week I said when I come into the studio, I'm gonna wear a Washington Redskin. I still have a Washington Redskins shirt. And so,
Yeah.
unfortunately, when we went to the studio, the owner had a death in the family, and so the studios were locked up. I didn't get a chance to do my show yesterday, but I did put on the Washington Redskins shirt. And so I had an interesting evening all day yesterday. Everywhere I went, man, I had to explain to her, look, I'm not a Washington Redskin fan. I was getting ready to make a political a statement about political correctness. And so I have an internet show. I mean, over and over. Man, I walked in to go get chicken, and yeah, black people do eat chicken. And the guy's like, "Hey, man, you can't come in here with this T-shirt on." So I was like, "Man, I'm not." Everywhere I go, I'm not a fan. Trying to make a statement. They're not going to be Commanders to me. They're always going to be the Redskins. So it was a trip all day yesterday.
That logo was designed by a Native American as a tribute to the Native Americans.
Right,
And they found that whole thing to be an honor to them to call them the Redskins.
right,
And said that's why they participated in that. And so I think it was the son or the grandson of the artist had taken to television and started complaining how they are devaluing the work of his family
right.
and of his tribe. So it's a shame that these kinds of things are going on. I mean, you got rid of Uncle Ben,
Right.
you got rid of Aunt Jemima.
You know what's crazy
and
about all of the
the
black
only
people
thing
being
that's
taken.
left is the Quaker Oats guy.
Right,
So
I'm like, they
that's
took all the black people off of the products, but they left the white people, man.
yeah,
White people that want to be politically correct and say that's not a representation of us, So, and the sad thing is, all the black people that they had on these products that you just mentioned, families were getting paid by the companies, but once they have
yes,
removed those images, now you don't have to pay the families anymore. Same thing with the Washington Redskins. I think they were donating a lot of money to the Indian tribes,
hmm
per season. But now that they're the commanders, they no longer have to make those donations or voluntary contributions that they were making in the past. And so, in one sense, you think you have a victory but on the other hand, people are suffering because they was reaping the benefits for the use of that image.
yes. So what's their logo look like now?
It's a big W, I think it is. It's just a W on the chest, like. So yeah, but I'm always until the day I die, they gonna be the Redskins. Matter of fact, when I was watching football this past weekend, the people in the broadcast booth kept calling them the Redskins. So I don't know if they're gonna have a meeting, and say, look, you can't say that anymore. And going forward, you have to make sure you calling them the Commanders. But now the POTUS is now talking about the Braves can't use that name, and that they're the next ones that's gonna go up, man. So who else gonna be, man? It's gonna be we are Washington Commanders. Is it gonna be Florida? Because a lot of the Florida Seminoles, and
Hmm
how far are we gonna go with this, man? So we'll see. It'll be interesting to see what goes on in the sports world, man. It's just everybody just have a state name blank. The Dallas blank. Can you
Yeah,
Cowboys
because
gonna spend it.
it, the
Birds
vegans are going to complain about the Cowboys.
right. Birds gonna start flying out the sky. We don't. You can't call us the Eagles no more. So how far is it going to go, man? So I don't think you
Maybe
know the political correctness thing is ruining the country, if you ask me. And so,
well, well, it's what I think of it is like that old saying: "The road to hell is paved with good intentions."
right,
And there's a lot of good intentions in what they mean to do, but they don't look at the consequences of the actions and how that might adversely affect other people. So there's a blindness that comes to it, and it's the blind adherence to it with zero exception and no debate. I think that's the real problem that we've got going on here. So I mean, we should be able to talk about it. You think back to how many people that they actually burned at the stake for saying that the Earth circled the sun.
right,
They never came back and went, oh, my bad.
right.
You know,
Sprinkle some water on 'em. Let's see if we can't revive him. My bad.
but they protecting the status quo. You have to be able to have debate, and if you're introducing new ideas, you also have to have a debate. The James Webb Telescope found a galaxy on basically the other side of time. Now let me break this down to you. Okay, it it looks at infrared waves, and the longer the red wave is, the further back in time you're looking. So
Right,
they've estimated, based on the measurements that they've taken from these galaxies, how far back they can look up until the point of the Big Bang.
right,
Okay, so they can look back into the past to see at the almost the moment of the Big Bang.
right,
What they have found is that on the other side of that is a galaxy, and that galaxy is fully formed like something that should be closer in the Big Bang.
right,
So either they're looking back to the other side of the Big Bang, or the way they calculate and look at the Big Bang is incorrect.
right,
Okay. So they've decided that what they're looking at isn't real, and they must be looking at it wrong, because
right,
the Big Bang is what it is, even though it's a theory. Uh,
right,
that right now is is the sun circling the earth in
Right.
our time period. That's the example. And what they've got to do now is expand their understanding of the Big Bang to account for something that they can't account for with the way they look at things now. So um,
Yeah, see, people are
I,
always trying to look for a way to discount, something. One theory supersedes another theory. It's like diets, man. When I was growing up, man, every now let's just use the egg, man. Every now and then you get different information about the egg. Egg is America's wonder food, right? It's good for everything. Nothing can go wrong with an egg. Now you get years later they come out, man. Egg will just raise your cholesterol astronomically high. If you eat an egg, you'll die in 6 months, man. And now it's come full circle to now. I just had some articles in my notebook that I was going to do on the on my show. The wonderful benefits of eggs, right? So you can never tell what is what because as soon as they establish something, they'll come back with a new theory of why that theory is not right, man. You can go with anything from climate change to global warming. I can put up magazine articles where they was talking about the earth was going to freeze in a number of years, so
oh
you
yeah,
know,
we're past the point where we're supposed to have that ice age happen.
yeah, and it's supposed to happen on in several times, and then it came up with global warming. The most interesting thing about global warming to me, warming, I'm sorry, was when Sheryl Crow and a couple other entertainers were traveling around the world to promote it. Everywhere they went, it snowed, which I thought was the most ironic thing, man. Everywhere they went talking about global warming, it snowed. So, and now they come up with a genius plan that you can't really diffuse because now they just call it climate change. What day that you wake up anywhere in the world that the climate doesn't change? So you can't really argue that. But
That's the state of Texas right there. If you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes. It's
just
always
wait, man.
changing.
It's going to change. And in the
And
wintertime, you can have all four seasons in a day.
I saw an article saying that if you think you're getting a respite from the heat that happened over the summer, just remember that after winter, climate change will return.
Right,
And I remember when they were called seasons.
right.
Next thing
Exactly.
you know,
Yeah,
summer's going to be replaced with global warming, and winter's going to be replaced with ice age. So,
exactly.
prepare for the ice age and start getting your winter clothes together.
Right. We had now, I guess it's something to be said for being somewhat prepared for any situation, have a little
Yeah.
extra water, some food staples that you can carry you maybe a month or two out, man. But there are some people who are extreme with it. But I'll say, Ben, anytime they start talking about all that, my thing is everything is cyclical.
Yes.
We have cycles, and sometimes the cycles are extreme. Sometimes they fall within the norm. So, it's not the end of the world. It's built into the system. It happens, man. But people are using that to control people, which we can get off into all kind of things of that nature, man. Which is one of the things I think what the COVID was used for. My personal opinion, I thought it was a trial balloon to see if we can control these people, and it worked masterfully. So, I mean, it's just those things that maybe just my way of thinking. I just don't accept anything just because you say it, man. I'll do a little research. I'll try to find some opposing opinions. I just like you
Hmm.
said, we should be able to debate. Now you don't have to believe
Yeah.
it, but
No,
you should be
no.
able to debate it and then let people make their own choices. Like, I go back to COVID when that came out. I mean, even to this day, if you say something anti what the establishment says is, right, man, they'll come after you. They'll shut you down, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I think there comes a point in time when if you don't agree with somebody, you should be able to have some sort of jumping off point where, like you said, agree to disagree. But that's not the case anymore.
no,
But in the case of this show, if I ever run across somebody who have that problem with, I've got this little thing to drop and change the subject. Check this out.
My way's clearly better.
Boringer and deader.
Let's agree to disagree.
I like that, man. That is really good, man. I should have something like that. That's pretty
I'll
cool.
pass it on to you. I'll see if I can get it to you.
All right, but yeah, but it's when we were growing up. in school, we were taught to question everything. Don't
Yes.
believe me because I said it. Don't believe me because you read it out of this book through your own
Hmm.
investigation, your own research. If what I'm saying is true, we'll both find ourselves at the same point. But if what, because sometimes our teachers would deliberately teach us something that was not right, just to test us and see if we were going to go out and do the research and prove them wrong. Sometimes they would do.
Hmm.
Now, if I say it, it's the gospel. Believe it, no questions. And that's what I like about a lot of young people that are coming up these days. They're starting to challenge a lot of these things, and so, but they have a duality in the classroom. They know the truth, but they answer the questions according to what the teachers are teaching, so they can get a good grade. But they do know what the truth is, and so I was watching a young man just a couple of days ago that was challenging the system. He's like, I know the truth, but y'all trying to teach me, y'all trying to indoctrinate me. And so because of this, I'm leaving this system and I'm going to another system. And he said, the one thing you guys will regret, he said, because I'm going to be somebody. And he said, the one thing you guys will regret is that I will not be able to call myself an alumnus of this institution because I can't agree with what y'all teaching, which I thought was brilliant the way he put it. And so I like to see young people come up and challenge the system. I hope more of them do.
Yeah, yeah. And it's all, you're always better off if you can figure out your own way or figure out other ways of getting at whatever the truth might be,
Right,
without having to be pinned down to this is the only way, this is the only way, this is the only
right.
way.
Yeah,
I saw an interview with a girl who, at the age of 13, decided to transition. And she said that her parents were faced with an impossible choice because once they sought help from the professionals,
right,
they told them that what do you want? A live son or a dead daughter or
right,
something to that effect, meaning that if they went against the grain and didn't let this child transition at the age of 13, then she would die by her own hand
right,
because there's a tremendous percentage of people in that community that do die by suicide.
right,
So they went through the whole thing, and they got to the point where she was given the puberty blockers, and she was giving the testosterone, and she had a mastectomy at the age of 16.
right,
And they were getting ready to finalize the last thing, and she realized this is a mistake for herself.
right,
Okay, and there was nobody to help her from that point on. The whole system turned on her.
right,
Okay, they felt like she was indoctrinated, that she'd been brainwashed, and the doctors have nothing else to offer from that point on. If you decide you're not going to continue with this, the support system is gone. You're on your own. Have a nice life, and
right,
that to me seemed to be the saddest thing, that you're not providing the system that has been created for this is not providing for people to change their minds. I
right.
mean, when I was a kid, you ask anybody at 13 what they're going to be when they're grown up. I asked my son, when he was 8, what do you want to be when you grow up? He said either some kind of chemical engineer or a millionaire. And I thought to myself, great, he's going to be cooking meth. You know, but the point is that there's a drasticness from one side to the other. I'm going to be a cowboy or a millionaire, or I'll be an astronaut.
Right,
Which that's only going to happen for one person, Elon Musk or one of these other rich guys.
right,
So you're knowing the fact, as a scientific medical professional, knowing the fact that the human brain doesn't finish developing until you're 28, it is vastly unreasonable to think that any decision made at the age of 8 or 13 or 15 or 16
right,
is a permanent choice that needs to be enforced, uh, for life. I
yeah,
mean, imagine all the cowboys
right,
that we would have to have,
right,
all the kids pushed into the cooking system because they want to be a chef, Mwah. because
Right.
they saw Ratatouille. Uh,
Yeah.
so I don't know. I just find it horrific
Yeah.
that
Yeah. The
these things go
tragedy
down.
in the illustration that you just gave for this young lady is she can't reverse, she's mutilated her body and now she has to
Hmm.
live with that for the rest of her life. And also another tragic part of the story is like you said, when she was doing what the system said was okay, this is what we're transitioning toward. They were going way out of their way to help her and facilitate her. But as soon as she said, I don't think this is a good idea, now you don't went against their system. Now you don't,
Hmm.
you're somebody that can say, not everybody should do this. Maybe they should wait till after the 18th or 25 or whenever to make this decision. Now you're discrediting everything about what they believe. And so now they want to be hands off and they really don't care what happens to you at that point. And then you mentioned that people in that particular mindset are subject to suicide. Now she's even more so because she's stuck and there's nothing she can do about it.
Yeah, I mean, are you going to force people to go into professional boxing just because they're in the Golden Gloves?
Right.
Not everybody who plays college ball is going to make it to the pros. Not everybody who plays high school ball or goes into college ball. Not everybody who plays middle school ball goes into high school ball. I
Right.
mean, so you have to allow for the human body and the human experience to experience everything. You
Right.
know, if she still feels that way at 18, 19, there are courses of action to take,
Right.
and you are in some states legally an adult and able to do that. And then, go ahead on, make that grown up decision when you're a grown up, but um, if somebody is talking to you about it and you're a little kid in school, um, you can be talked into something or another because you're there to learn.
Right.
You go into the school and you're told, listen to your teachers, pay attention, listen to what they're doing, learn what they're teaching you because that's where they're there to teach. But they wind up, I think, overstepping bounds and introducing ideas that will ultimately be harmful one way or the other. You know, um, if you know that 25% of a given population has a tendency towards suicide, why would you want to introduce children to that?
Right. That's true.
Okay. And now I think she gave a percentage that was over 100%. I mean, it's like 1,000% increase or something like that of kids that are in that realm of transitioning that feel they are no longer in the binary system of male and female in schools. And this, you would think because of all of the acceptance, because of all of the medical procedures, because of all of the encouraging parents, and the just sheer acceptance of this type of lifestyle in society as a whole, that suicide number would go down, and it has not. And
Right.
you might think that well, it just stayed the same. Well, no, it didn't because the numbers have increased. 5% of 10 is a small number, but 5% of 10,000 is a much larger number than 5% of 10.
Right. The interesting thing about this conversation, man, and I pray, that you're blessed to have this go out over more than what's listening right now. But the interesting thing about the conversation that we're having right now is this is a dangerous conversation to have because we can both find ourselves in trouble because we're going against the establishment, because of what we believe. We're rational people. We were taught to be rational people. We believe that parents are in control of their children until such time as they reach the legal age of adulthood and they can make their own decisions. We believe that you should be able to have open debate, question everything, but that's not what society believes. And as a result, man, you can find yourself in some serious trouble. I find that anybody that knows me know that I'm a conservative, right? And so when I listen to the show, I don't hide that fact. And so I have a friend of mine who's not a conservative, but we're the best of friends. And he was like,
Hmm.
yeah, we often one day we was talking, and just out of the blue, he was like, DD, man, I get a lot of the people that we grow up with said they just don't understand you. Why do you, have this ideology? Why do you do things the way that you do? And it's just I'm not following what traditional black people do. And so it frustrates a lot of people that I grew up with. And a lot of them really only reason they're kind of hanging out with me is because of the history. I've known a lot of these people since I was like 8, 9 years old. So he said, look, my response to them is always this. He said, y'all looking at him as a conservative and the way he votes and stuff like that. He said, I see his heart. He said, DD is always looking for what's best for anybody. And he said, I'll give you an example. He said, DD went down to protest the Gina 6 situation, but he didn't find him on the Capitol on January the 6th. And so he gave that as an example to show, that, okay, he's not perfect, but he's not the crazy guy that y'all trying to make him out to be. But there was a time where it was okay to be whatever. Yet there again, it goes back to, let's talk about it. Why do you feel the way you feel? Let me tell you why I feel the way that I feel. And then you go back to that I wouldn't call it a happy medium, but it's a place where you can, hang your head and be okay with, let's just agree to disagree.
Yeah, yeah. As far as January 6th, I think I don't like the way that they're handling it, but they are handling it.
Right.
And the reason I say that they are handling it is because there were 2 acquittals and 2 convictions.
Right.
Okay, which means they're looking at the evidence and they're seeing what's going on and they're sorting it out, because not everybody there was the horns wearing guy.
Right.
Not everybody there was swinging Confederate flags, and quite a few, just a small fraction of them,
Right.
actually had some kind of weapon. And there's some questions about who those people were, and they're
Right.
looking into that. And sometimes the system is wrong in how they look at things.
Right.
But if they ultimately come up to the correct answer, then the system seems to be working. I mean, the one guy that did get convicted uh, bought weapons and shipped them out that way. He didn't
Right.
actually go, but he shipped weapons out there, and those weapons were found. And those people, I think, inevitably will be on trial too.
Yeah.
Should they all be in solitary confinement? I think that's absolutely ridiculous. But the ones that did get off, mm, you know, were held in that same system too. So
Yeah.
they're looking at it. The last guy was impeached twice.
Right.
Did they follow through with it? Did they find anything wrong during the Russia investigation? No,
Right.
no. They found no evidence of wrongdoing.
Right. And over and above that, then, the judges and stuff that signed these FISA warrants said upon the new information that we have now, we never would have signed those warrants. It never would have been an issue to begin with. And I look at, going back to January 6th, and that I look across the broader landscape of what's been going on in the country. In one instance, you're going way out of your way to be prosecutory and make sure people do time. You flip the script, and then they have people doing other things. Man, look at the no cash bail and how rapid the crime is going in society now. Not only is there no cash bail, but you're not even prosecuting these people. So how can you justify letting all these people get away with all of these heinous crimes? I was watching a story last night where a guy in New York literally stomped a woman almost to death, man, and nobody did anything.
Mm-hmm.
But you got people that was on the Capitol who have not been released. They've been there since January the 6th. How do you justify that? If
No cash bail.
yeah, you got if there's no cash bail, they should be out. So why aren't they afforded that opportunity? You have all the information, so let them, go home, continue their lives, and if you just like what is the grand jury? Present the case, the evidence to the grand jury. If you got enough to try this person, then you know where they are. You know how to find them. Go get them.
Yeah, the prosecutors are not going to be going after gets. They took down his partner, the guy that was working with him, and that guy's getting prosecuted, but they're not going to be going after him. They said there wasn't significant evidence to warrant uh,
Right.
prosecuting him. So um, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I think the whole raid was a fishing trip, and I don't think that they are playing above board because the special master, had decided for them to account for everything, and they came up with different numbers than
Right.
what they were putting out. you
Right.
know, yeah, some of these folders that were labeled type secret that we were showing you, some of them were empty,
Right. Right.
didn't have
You know,
nothing in it.
the beautiful thing about the conversation that we have is, we both have a background in comedy, and I've done some acting. You produced some films, you know, and it's one of the reasons that I like this conversation as well as my show. We could have spent the whole hour talking about comedy, but we just let the conversation go where it goes. And that's what I like
Yeah.
about just having a general conversation, because if you're having a general conversation, you cover a gambit of topics, and like I said, you can agree or disagree, there may be points of contentions if we went further along in the conversation, but we're
Hmm.
wise enough and intelligent enough to go, okay, well, that's not how I feel,
Yeah.
I'm going to, well, I don't agree with this particular point, but same thing. I go back to my friend whose name is Larry Davis. There are a lot of things that we don't agree on, but what we do agree on is that we're friends, and whatever it is that we disagree on, yeah, we just disagree on. We're gonna continue that relationship. I mean, this dude is one of the best guys I know in my life, and I feel blessed to have him in a relationship. And if I went through some of the history of things that happened between us, you would go, "Oh man, that's a good man. That's a good man."
Well, just
So
from what you told me, I know he's got your back because he defended you against your other friends.
right, right. And so, but it's
So,
the beauty of conversation. I wish what we're doing now could be emulated throughout the country, instead of you're the devil because you're this, or you're evil because you're that. No, okay, I believe there are things that I see, there are questions that I have, there are perceptions that I have that cause me to believe what I believe. The same thing is said of you. Now,
hmm. Hmm.
let's get together and have these conversations. Now, we're not going to agree on a lot of things, but there's somewhere that we
Yeah.
do agree. As a matter of fact, one of my former co-hosts, is the complete opposite of me, and it used to bring like a point of contention on the show sometimes. And so I decided to kind of test him without him being aware that I was testing him. So I asked him some general questions about what he believes. And when I did, turns out 9 out of 10, he believed the way that I did. But once you put a label on it, he
Yes.
rejected it. And I,
That's the one thing that really disturbs me is the fact that you can label somebody something, and by doing so, you dismiss every single word that comes out of their mouth, so that
exactly.
nothing has merit. But if you're out there and you like this conversation and you want to hear more of DD Ingram, the DD Ingram Show consists of four inspiring personalities with Hollywood appeal and a dynamic message. This show is family friendly and has gained great reviews. Tell people when they can find and listen to the DD Ingram Show.
It's always every Tuesday from 5 to 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And you can also just type in DD Ingram Show on Facebook, and you can scroll the archives and just listen to any particular show. Or you can go to the Fishbowl website, which is www.fbrn.us. There you'll get the audio version. But I always say, just on Facebook, just type in DD. It's the simplest way, DD Ingram Show, and it'll pull it up. You get the live broadcast. Plus, you get a chance to see how handsome I am, or how beautiful my wife is, how handsome my nephew is. You can interact with us, all of that. So it's great. And before I go, thank you for the invite, man. I'm telling you, I had a blast today, and look forward to one day in the future coming back. And
Yeah, yeah. And if you ever find an opportunity and I happen to be around, maybe I'll just drop by the Fishbowl Network and have a conversation with you guys, and bring one of my masks.
any Tuesday, man, any Tuesday that you find yourself free from 5 to 7, hey, drop in, man. I love to have you, man, because we have history, and we have a very good relationship.
Thanks a lot for coming, Dee Dee. I really appreciate it. It's been a great show.
Yes, sir.
Speaking of which, this show was brought to you by DMRhosting.com. The business plan boasts unlimited data storage, unlimited data transfer, antivirus, and spam protection, along with 24/7, 365 support via chat or phone for all for $445 a month. Get started today with a 30-day free trial at DMRhosting.com. DMRhosting.com. Thanks again, folks, for being here. And we will catch you guys tomorrow when we talk to Tammy Anderson. And on Friday, a special guest, actress, producer, writer, Ella Morrow will be here. So go out and have yourselves a great day.
Go.